Mteto, thanks for speaking to us today under difficult circumstances.
Yes, yeah, we are all living under very difficult circumstances. We're getting used to the world as governed by COVID-19. We also need to be looking at how the world is going to look like after COVID-19. But yeah, very difficult times we're in right now.
How has your upbringing and your family molded you into the person and the businessman you are today?
Yeah, I would say it has shaped me quite a lot, Derek. And I look at the values that define me. Maybe the values that I've chosen, because to me it's a matter of choice. It's not like you grew up, you were born with these values, but you choose certain values. Those values that are things like excellence, things like integrity, family.
Instilled a lot by your mother.
Yeah, and all of that comes from largely my parents and my mother, And I would say that that helps me a lot in terms of how I approach life and the way I lead. And it helps me to be consistent, Even the people that work for me, they're able to see that, I'm predictable, if I can call it that. Yeah. Yes.
Mteto, your book, Betting on a Darkie, not very PC, lifting the corporate game.
Yes.
How much trouble were we in before the pandemic?
We were in trouble as a country, You may remember, Derek, that at the time before the lockdown, there was this threat of Moody's downgrading of South Africa. And of course, 2 other rating agencies had already downgraded us. And there was this thing. And we were in trouble as a country. You also do know some of our state-owned enterprises were going through difficult times, like Eskom, SAA, Transnet, PRASA, all of these were entities that were looking for additional funding. And yet, the number of companies that are paying taxes is coming down, which means the fiscus is shrinking, so there is not enough money. So we're in trouble as a country.
You've held top executive positions, mainly in the information and communications space, and you've thrived and the companies have thrived. So what are some of the leadership lessons you can share with us?
There's one thing that I appreciate with having worked for multinational companies, companies like Microsoft, IBM. I remember also when I was doing my MBA, we were introduced to work that was done by Shell, who introduced to the world scenario planning. The scenario planning that we're talking about now, it was introduced by Royal Dutch Shell many, many years ago. And it's something that I find so valuable today, where you look ahead and look at the likely scenarios, and you start thinking about, what am I going to do if this thing happens? If that thing happens, what will I do? And that is some valuable competence to be having in a day like this one now, when we are living in a COVID world. We need to be thinking about the future, creating a memory of the future on the leadership team, so that when they encounter that future, they know what to do.
But to continually be flexible and
exactly
watching,
continuously adapting, watching the environment, looking at how things are going. So that's very important. But at the same time, you cannot be focusing on many things. That is another important thing. You need to make choices, strategic choices. And in our case, we have made just a few things that we as Altron were focusing on, 4 things, strategically. And you find that companies or organizations, they are everywhere. And what I got from some of these large companies is that you make your choices. There are consequences linked to that, yes, of course, but you have to make strategic choices. You cannot try and be satisfying everybody.
You're talking about 4 lessons?
Yeah, then four things that we are focusing on as a company. One is growth. It is so important, Derek, that we need to, as an organization, make this cake bigger. We can be talking about dividing it and this, but if we're not making it bigger, we're going to have a problem. So our focus as a company is to make this cake bigger. And we have been doing that over the last 3 years now, consistently growing the company. The other part is profitability of the company, always making sure that we are profitable. The third focus area for us is improving customer experience, putting our customers at the center of whatever it is. The last point is about our own employees, employee excellence. Those are the four things. You go to each and every one of our companies, they're just focusing on those four things.
In your book, you say we need black and white hands on deck to solve our economic problems. Will that be more important than ever after lockdown?
It is always important, Derek. In my view, the thing that we are missing most of the time is we're not leveraging the diversity of our people. We've got people coming from the Eastern Cape, coming from the rest of the continent, black, white, Indian. We continue to focus on what divides us. But each and every one of these individuals, of groups, they bring something valuable. We need to bring that, grab that. Right now, we need everybody. We are sitting with an employment rate of 29% just before the lockdown. If I look at Israel, before their own lockdown, they were sitting at an unemployment rate of 4%. And a few months in, and 1.5 months in, they were saying the unemployment is sitting at 28%. During the lockdown, from 4 to 28, we were sitting at 28. Where are we going to be? So we need all of the resources that we have, black, white, focusing on getting this economy back on track. And this is what I like, is that the lesson that we're learning from working together around the pandemic, being led by Cyril, but bringing everybody together, we need to take that and use the same template for our economy.
When you survey the business landscape in the wake of the lockdown, how do you see it? Is it becoming something of a battleground now?
Yeah, it is tough. People do not know, companies do not know whether they are going to still be around in a month's time. The employees within those companies, if you were to survey them, and we have done the same thing here, the big part of our own employees, a significant part, 67%, they are worried about job security. Job security. So that is what we are doing as a company to stay connected with them, to help them to understand that our priority as a business is to make sure that this business is sustainable beyond this COVID-19. We're making some very tough choices, but we're doing those choices. Why? Because we need to make sure that this business continues to exist. We're putting our people at the center. We may take the short-term pain, but it's important to take that so that we can preserve this company for the future.
What are the most important things we need right now to reboot and reset?
I'm talking now about as a country.
As a country.
As a country, yeah. I think as a country we do need to have a clear vision, a very, very clear vision. This vision is so important to individuals, it's important to organizations, it is also important to the country. It's a vision, it's that thing that is a compelling thing that brings everybody together. We're aligning, it's our true north. What is our true north? Where are we going as a country? That's very important. We need to get that thing right and articulate it. Most importantly, I keep hearing people talking about, our people, and these are some of the leaders talking about our people. And if you click and say, who is part of this our people? You'll find that our people is certain race groups. It's not everyone, it's not every South African. So that concerns me. We need to have inclusive vision, a vision where each and every South African can feel like they are part of this vision. That's very important for me. It's the foundation of everything. Then let's make strategic choices. Who are we as a country? We cannot be saying, oh, are we socialist? Are we, a market-driven economy? Who are we? One day we are this, another day we are that. Let's make a choice. And with each choice comes consequences. But live with that. Make a conscious decision.
Picking up on that, business needs to connect and create an environment where everyone can thrive. That's what you say in the book. And not just a select few. How would that come into the new equation?
We need each and every individual to help us as we move forward. And I was saying that our problems are huge. We need black, we need white, we need all sorts of people helping the country to rebuild the country. So that is really what we need. So Derek,
some people are saying that this is going to be like the Great Depression. Some say even worse. Do you share those views?
Only yesterday, I was looking at some of the coverage being done in the US. I was shocked to hear, Derek, that they have shed 22 million jobs in the last 2 months. They are back to where they were in 2008. That's huge. And this is still continuing. We don't know how long we're going to be in the lockdown. So the Great Depression, I think, is going to be worse. But are we going to be able to come out of it? Hey, human beings have gone through even more difficult situations. We are going to come through this. But my sense is that there is a message in all of this. I don't know where that message is coming from, but there's a message to all of us, Derek, that we need to just pause, take a step, and reflect how we overall as people on this earth, are we moving in the right direction? Are we making the right choices? What's our relationship with the environment? What's our relationship with one another? Do we care enough for each other? These are some of the things that this lockdown is forcing us to do. And I hope that we will be able to reflect on these things and come out of it knowing that we are actually all one. We are all human beings that needs to take care of this planet of ours. I hope that is, and as business, it is critical to understand that we're not just going to be focusing on one set of stakeholders, which is the shareholders. We need to be thinking much, much broader than one group of stakeholders. What about society? What about our own employees? Right now, each time we're thinking and connecting as leaders of Altron, we're being forced to be thinking about our employees first. And I think this is happening everywhere. How do we protect the jobs that we have? Thinking about society, employees, about suppliers, think about all of the stakeholders. This is what this pandemic is forcing us to do.
Millions of people are fearful, and there's a quote that resonates with you. Everything you ever wanted was on the other side of fear. Yes. Can you expand on that?
I'll bring something else, Derek, here. And the other quote that I like is, life expands or shrink in proportion to your courage. It expands or shrinks in proportion to your courage, which means that, there's fear. Fear will always be there. But the question is, how courageous are we to take that step? You may be facing this challenge, like now, right now we're facing this challenge. But we have to move forward, you know. We have to move forward. We have to take that next step forward, you know. And it takes a lot of courage for someone to be able to do that. But we need to connect with that courage.
But how do you walk that tightrope, Mteto, between fear of the future and courage
Yes.
and positivity?
I think it starts with that vision, you know, that thing that is compelling you. If you can see that future, you know, and that future is so strong, so compelling, it shifts you. Yes, I will be able to endure whatever I'm going through right now because I'm going for that. That future, it is so powerful. It's a future that is embracing everybody. It's a future where we're going to be a reduction in I would say, the levels of, many of us in this world are at different places. We need to reduce inequality. You know, that's the kind of future that we're going after. If the vision that we're painting and the tools that we're giving the people, we give them. And as leaders, we show the way. You will see and more people being courageous, being able to go to places that they would not go to because they are being led.
Tito Mboweni says he's shaking in his boots, the rand is shrinking. What do you want to see from our politicians to get the economy moving again?
If you let's look at how our politicians are addressing the COVID problem. And here you find that almost everybody is aligning to one thing. Let's get this. You know, let us come up with, everybody is aligned. We need to take that same view. You know, you don't hear EFF saying one thing, another party say, everybody is aligned. You know, the ANC is aligned. We need to take that same approach when it comes to the economy. That same thing. What are we trying to do? We bring also the labor unions into the equation. Because in my mind, we cannot just leave this thing with the politicians. It has to be a pact that we have as society. You know, we have to get out of this problem, get business to be behind it, get the labor unions to be behind it, get the various groups, the politicians to be behind it.
But how do we get the unions to help and not hinder the recovery process?
Right now, Derek, if we can just be blunt, the unions honestly do not have too much power. I mean, each and every company is losing jobs. They are losing members. You know, their power is nowhere. So it is so important that they connect with that thing that is going to protect the limited power that they still have, you know, which is, let us find ways to grow the economy. If we grow the economy, the likelihood is that their members are going to be growing. So we need to connect them with their interest. Their interest is largely their members. How do we make sure that you grow your members? You grow your members by growing businesses. You know, let's find those things that connect us, and those things are there. You know, those things are there.
How can big business and the government come to the aid of small and medium enterprises which are already going under and, to be honest, sacking staff?
It's really, really going to be tough, you know. There's one complaint that before the COVID, before the lockdown has always been there, that the public sector is not paying small businesses fast enough, you know. They have to wait for 90, 120 days to just get paid. If you're a small business, you just cannot have that. You know? So we can start with simple things like that to make sure that we're paying them. Right now, yes, amongst the people that you have to pay as a large business, prioritize paying small businesses who are your suppliers. Let's prioritize that. Let's also try and find a way of supporting them, you know. And there's this thing called enterprise development, which is part of the BEE scorecard. Enterprise development means you look at the small companies that are out there, align them with you and support them and coach them, guide them. We need to bring those companies much, much closer to us.
We can't let them collapse.
No, we can't, because that's the only route to addressing the unemployment problem. We can only address large companies like ours. The potential for us to be absorbing thousands and thousands of new employees is not that much. The potential is with small businesses. So that's where we need to be focusing on.
The president has set a goal of fixing state-owned enterprises and getting people of integrity on those boards. How important does that continue to be after lockdown?
It is so important for the president to do what he has said he's going to do and to accelerate that. It's one thing to fix the boards. In my mind, the board has got a responsibility, yes, but the people who are running the companies is management. We need to get competent leaders of those businesses, people who understand those businesses. They must lead them. And let's give them the space. In fact, the boards must give them the space to do what they are capable of doing. Freedom to go do that. But let's make sure that also the board does its responsibility of looking and doing an oversight responsibility on those companies. So it is important that we accelerate the work that the president has started.
But it needs a very tough approach.
It needs a tough approach. I mean, you cannot, some of the people have been put there because they are politically connected, they are friends of this and friends of that. We have to put South Africa first now, not individuals. Put South Africa first. And it requires, unfortunately, you cannot just be nice. You have to be saying, you know what, if you are not the right person for the job, out. We are putting the best person for the job. If that person happens to be an Indian, put an Indian. If that person happens to be a black person, put the black person. But we need a best people to take those roles.
Mteto, I want to know how what we refer to as the fourth industrial revolution can be turned into benefits for our wider population.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, this one of fourth industrial revolution, and everybody is so worried that it's going to be taking away jobs. The fact that we're talking about the fourth, it means that there was the first, the second, the third, and now on the fourth there will be the fifth. And in each and every time we're sitting at the changes, moving from one to the next, everybody's worried. But if you look at the history, each revolution brings even more jobs, So there is not going to be any change here. It's just that there will be different types of jobs that it's bringing. So in my mind, we need to be looking at how we can use the technologies that are out there to help drive the unemployment situation in our country. For example, Derek, look at the Uber, the e-hailing services. These services were not there only a few years ago. Now they are there. And they're probably about 20,000. So what do they require? It's all you need to be a driver. That's the skill that you require. But what is the technology that's enabling all of that? It's a digital platform. This digital platform is able to manage these 20,000. So we've actually created through fourth IR 20,000 jobs that were not there. It's the same kind of platform that is being used to manage domestic workers. Now a domestic worker can get into these platforms and become, all of a sudden, they can get jobs everywhere, The same thing with plumbers. We can leverage this kind of platforms. So this thing is not unskilled labor. It actually can help. But we need to design in such a way that we are trying to address the problems that we are facing as a country.
Mteto, looking at the recovery post-COVID, are there any quick wins, easy solutions?
First, I don't think we should fool ourselves. There are not going to be any easy solutions, but we need to apply our minds and say, okay. For example, I'm going to use the example of the ICT industry. We are talking about fourth IR, but right now I'm locked down at home, and I want to access my, let's say, marriage certificate, or I want to access title deed. I can't, because all of these items are sitting as paper somewhere. We need to first digitize all of this material that is currently sitting in the paper format. And we can use our young unemployed people to help us to do that. You know, go to the police, digitize the files, the healthcare, digitize for the next 5 years, digitize the plans, the housing plans. That will set this country up into a country that's ready for the future. But in the process, we would have created jobs, and we have set ourselves up possibly to be the center that does that for the world. And these are the opportunities that are out there. So that's what is required, innovation.
And certainly give us more security as far as the police goes.
Exactly.
Especially with DNA and other modern techniques of investigation.
Yes, that's exactly what we need. We need efficiency. We need a lean government. We can't have a lean government if we cannot digitize and make all of what they are doing digital and accessible via the online platforms.
Mteto, you have said before that the land question has derailed the president from crafting a compelling vision for our future. How do you think he can overcome that in the months to come?
Look, the good thing that I see now is that look, we need to address the land question, but to put it as front and center is not necessarily the thing, in my mind. We need to put growth first. That's what we need to be focusing on. And the good thing is that with all that has happened now, it is putting growth back at the center. That's where, when people say that never let a good crisis go to waste, this is it. This is an opportunity that has been presented by the current circumstances. They have brought back the economy to be at the center. Let's focus on that and move and bring everybody around that. And that is what the president should be, and I think he is trying to do that.
But how can the president deliver a message of hope and inspiration given the circumstances, the poverty and the mass unemployment?
I think I've been watching some of the ways in which many of the various presidents across the world are addressing the COVID crisis. I've seen how the president of the United States continues to try and deliver the hope thing by maybe possible spinning some of what is happening. We should not be going that direction. It is so important that we need to be honest with South Africans. And this is what I think our president is doing. He's honest, he's telling us what our current reality is, but that should not stop us from saying, this is the kind of country we want to have. The vision. Have the vision, but be honest about where you are. And that tension is going to be helping us to move the entire society forward, because they can see where they can go, comparing it to where they are, and that will generate the energy that we need as a country to propel us forward.
Mteto, you say that as human beings we are operating way below our potential. We need to awaken the giant within. Is now that time?
It is truly that time. I've gone to a number of companies, and typically I'm attracted to companies that are not doing well, that needs fixing. And what's interesting is that in a few years, one or 2 years, the same companies that were struggling, the companies, they thrive. And what is the difference? The difference is that you have helped the people within those companies. You have not changed them, still the same people, but now they are doing great things, creating an environment, an enabling environment for people to do great things, challenge them, stretch them, and that is what is required. Let's not, yes, I'm talking about a company here. We need to be doing that at a country level. Each and every one of the organizations, businesses that are out there, let's try and stretch our people, show them that we can do more as a country. When I look at how Rwanda is showing up, how Kenya is showing up, hey, man, South Africa, we can do so much more. With all of the capabilities that we have, we continue to be learning from Rwanda. I'm not undermining Rwanda, but hey, we should be leading the continent. And we can, and we will.
When Altron staff walk through the doors again, what do you do? Where do you begin?
I think the key point is, again, to take the leaf of what President Ramaphosa is doing at a country level. We need to be honest about our reality. Things are tough. We have not delivered services to our customers, which means we have not been earning an income. Maybe we'll have to make some tough decisions about the increases that we have made, about rolling back some of the things. I don't know what we need to do, but we need to be honest about the reality and work with them to see how best can we address our reality so that we can emerge a stronger Altron out of this situation.
You talk a lot about integrity, about honesty. Do you think we became very much a rogue nation, and that extended to business during, to put it bluntly, the Zuma and Gupta years?
Go back to my discussion around President Trump and how one individual can lead a country to in a place which I don't think they would like to. When I look at the kind of death that are there in the US, and I look at our own situation here in South Africa for 9 years, where we were not going in the right direction at all. To me, those are lessons that leadership matters. We need to take time to make sure that we get the right people to lead us. It's so refreshing, so good to see the quality of leadership that we've been getting out of President Ramaphosa during this time. And we'd like to see that going as he starts to tackle the economic crisis that we are facing as a country.
Mteto, in a nutshell, what is it going to take for the country's leaders in government and business to navigate this carnage?
What's going to take for us as a country to navigate this is to understand that we're all in this together. We will be able to solve this if we pull together. And we do not have time, so we do not need committees, we do not need all of these things. We need to make bold decisions. Some of the decisions are going to hurt us in the short term, but as long as we keep our eye on where we're trying to go, let's go through the pain. Maybe we'll have to reduce the size of the public service, the number of people employed there, for example, as one of the painful things that we need to do. So be it. Some of the state-owned enterprises, we might let them to die. Allow that to happen. But pull everybody together to build the new South Africa. And we have the skills, we have smart people in this country willing to support our government, and we have created, together with government, there's something called PPGI, Public-Private Growth Initiative. Let's use those platforms where industry is committing itself to help drive growth with government. Let's drive that agenda.
Now, Neil Froneman of Sibanye-Stillwater says that only business can save the country. So would you have a slightly different view?
No, I have a different view that I don't think it's only business that can save the country. I think it's all, people can play different roles. Yes, it's business that is creating jobs. We get that. But we need the government to play its role in terms of things like policies. They need to address that. They must create the enabling environment. We also need to understand that the unions have to align with whatever we are doing. Otherwise, they can derail us. You can think that you are going in a particular direction, but if you do not get the support of the unions, they can derail you. So I don't think any one stakeholder can say that it's true that we need each and every South African, key stakeholders to be aligned behind a common vision. And I think that is building already, and we need to just accelerate that.
President Trump is obsessed with getting the nation back to work. How keen are you for us to get behind a desk again?
I think I'm keen to see South Africans being safe and having, and my interest is more about the well-being and the safety of South Africans. I understand the pain linked to the lockdown, but I also understand it's the right thing to do. So for me, it's that tight balance. We need to get back, we need to start, but it cannot just be open floodgates, we are back. We need to be progressively opening up certain sectors, making sure that we adhere to the disciplines, social distancing, all of that, and testing. Continue to test and test. So the agenda that has been set by our health department is a great agenda. They have increased and they're increasing the testing. That is precisely what is required right now.
And not to rush the process.
Because we'll be back to square one. We'll be back to square one if we rush the process. Yes, we'll be for one or 2 months. Then back to people are dying. So we'll have to lock down again. I would say take the time. Yes, it's painful, but take the time to make sure that as people go back, they're going back in a much, much safer environment.
Mteto, thank you so much.